The call comes from inside the house, not literally, but biologically, woven into the double helix of your DNA and buried beneath decades of Christmas dinners and forced smiles. We are conditioned by society, by Hallmark movies, and by the desperate hope of our parents to believe that the sibling bond is the purest form of alliance, a built-in support system designed to weather the storms of life. But if you strip away the sentimental veneer and look at the raw bleeding machinery of human psychology, a darker, more primal truth begins to emerge. You have felt it, haven't you? That subtle drop in room temperature when you announce a promotion. The micro-expression of disappointment that flashes across their face for a millisecond before the mask of congratulations slides into place. The backhanded compliment that lands like a jagged stone wrapped in velvet. You are not imagining it, and you are not paranoid. You are detecting the ancient dormant signal of the Cain syndrome, a psychological phenomenon as old as the first murder, where the person who shares your blood is also the person most biologically and psychologically incentivized to watch you burn. We are about to descend into the subterranean tunnels of the sibling dynamic, not to fix it but to dissect it, to understand why that person who knows your history best is often the architect of your insecurity, driven by 6 terrifying psychological mechanisms that operate below the threshold of their own conscious awareness. This story does not begin in adulthood. It begins in the nursery, in the primal arena of resource scarcity, where the infant brain first learns the brutal calculus of survival. The first reason your sibling harbors a subconscious desire for your failure is rooted in the zero-sum bias of parental affection, a cognitive distortion formed before they could even speak. To a child, love, attention, and safety are not infinite resources like air. They are finite commodities like gold, and every ounce given to you is perceived as an ounce stolen from them. When you were born, or when they were born, the monopoly on survival was shattered, and the brain encoded you not just as a playmate, but as a threat to their existence. This creates a lifelong low-hemming anxiety that never truly goes away, transforming your adult successes into their childhood deficits. When you buy the new house or get the perfect partner, their amygdala, the fear center of the brain, doesn't see a happy adult. It sees the rival bird in the nest opening its beak wider, swallowing the worm that was meant for them. They want you to fail not because they are evil, but because in the twisted logic of their subconscious, your contraction allows for their expansion, a physics of the soul where your dimming light is the only thing that makes them feel bright enough to be seen. As we move deeper into the architecture of this resentment, we encounter the second and perhaps most painful mechanism, the identity control group phenomenon. In scientific experiments, you have a variable group and a control group to see what changes the outcome, and in the laboratory of the family, you and your sibling are the subjects. You share the same genetic starting line, the same socioeconomic background, the same trauma, and the same dinner table, which makes you the only accurate mirror they have on Earth. If a stranger succeeds, they can dismiss it as luck or privilege, but if you succeed, it strips away every excuse they have ever constructed for their own stagnation. Your success is an existential indictment. It is living proof that their failures are not the result of the environment, but of their own choices or inherent lack. This triggers a defensive psychological state known as self-evaluation maintenance theory, where the pain of upward social comparison, looking at you and feeling small, becomes physically intolerable. To soothe this agony, their psyche deploys a dark strategy. If they cannot rise to your level, they must psychologically bring you down to theirs. They need you to fail to preserve the integrity of their own ego, to maintain the fragile delusion that the game was rigged against them. Because if you win the game, it proves the game was winnable all along. The tension tightens as we uncover the third layer, which operates in the shadowy realm of family roles and narrative control. Every family is a cult with its own mythology, and in this story, roles are assigned early: the responsible one, the wild child, the victim, the golden child. These are not just labels, they are psychological cages, and the third reason they need you to falter is role preservation. If their identity is constructed around being the suffering martyr or the misunderstood black sheep, your success threatens to disrupt the script. If you, who also came from the same dysfunction, manage to heal and thrive, you invalidate their victim. You become a glitch in the matrix of their narrative. They need you to remain messy, chaotic, or dependent because your brokenness validates their role as the stable one, or conversely, your mediocrity validates their role as the special one. Watch closely how they react when you try to change, when you try to break a bad habit or leave a toxic partner. They will often be the first to offer you a drink or doubt your resolve, a phenomenon known as crab mentality. They are not pulling you back down into the bucket because they want you to drown. They are pulling you down because your escape forces them to look at the pot they are boiling in, and the water is getting hotter by the minute. Shutterstock, but the psychology gets darker, twisting into the fourth mechanism, the shadow projection. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, described the shadow as the unknown dark side of the personality, the repository of everything we deny in ourselves. Often, you represent the living embodiment of your siblings' unlived life. If they repressed their creativity to be safe, they will hate your artistic risks. If they repressed their sexuality to be good, they will despise your freedom. They want you to fail because your success is a constant, mocking reminder of the parts of themselves they murdered to survive childhood. This is why the criticism is often so specific, so surgically targeted at your greatest joys. When they scoff at your ambition or ridicule your passion, they are not talking to you. They are talking to the ghost of their own potential that you have resurrected. The intensity of their resentment is directly proportional to the magnitude of their own repression. They need you to fail so that they can continue to believe that the sacrifices they made, the deadening of their own souls, were necessary and virtuous, rather than cowardly and wasteful. The narrative builds to a suffocating realization with the fifth reason, Schadenfreude, as emotional regulation. We like to think of joy and pain as opposites, but in the brain of a rivalrous sibling, they are short-circuited. There is a release of dopamine, the pleasure chemical, when they witness your stumbling. This isn't just cruelty. It is a physiological addiction. When you call them in tears because your marriage is ending or you lost your job, listen to the tone of their voice. Is there a genuine sorrow, or is there a subtle, breathless energy, a sudden vibrancy as they rush to comfort you? This is the vampire feeding. Your crisis allows them to momentarily step out of their own feelings of inadequacy and assume the position of the strong, benevolent caretaker. It regulates their internal chaos by focusing on yours. They need you to fail intermittently, to have mini collapses, to keep the dynamic purely vertical, with them looking down and you looking up. It is a power exchange disguised as intimacy, a way to feel superior without having to earn it through their own achievements. They become addicted to the rush of being the fixer or the wise one, a high that can only be sustained if you remain perpetually broken. Finally, we arrive at the climax, the sixth and most terrifying reason, buried in the deepest recesses of the subconscious, the betrayal of separation. In a dysfunctional family system, enmeshment is often mistaken for love. Independence is viewed as treason. When you succeed, when you truly soar, you are often moving away physically, financially, or emotionally from the tribal fire. You are becoming an individual, separate and distinct. To the sibling who is still mentally trapped in the family web, your success feels like abandonment. They want you to fail because failure sends you limping back home. Failure forces you to return to the fold, to need them, to re-enter the shared trauma bond. They are terrified of the silence that will fall when you are no longer there to play your part in the family drama. If you win, you leave. If you lose, you stay. And in the twisted, lonely logic of the Cain syndrome, they would rather have you broken and nearby than whole and out of reach. The realization hits you not with a bang, but with the chilling clarity of a diagnosis. You look back at the patterns, the sabotage, the faint smiles at your funerals, the silence at your wedding's end. You see the machinery for what it is. It is not personal, it is pathological. It is the frantic clawing of a drowning swimmer trying to climb on top of you to breathe. Understanding this does not mean you must hate them back, but it demands a profound psychological shift. You must stop going to the hardware store for milk. You must stop looking for validation from the very people whose psychological survival depends on withholding it. The tension releases only when you accept that their desire for your failure is the ultimate proof of your power. You are the mirror, the shadow, and the light they cannot bear to look at, and your only obligation now is to keep burning, even if it blinds them. Would you like me to analyze specific behavioral signs like the Trojan horse gift or the public undermining, to help you spot this dynamic in real-time interactions?